Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today we're going to be continuing our Battle Royale series. Now, for today, we're going to be focusing on our compass. And as you can see here, I've got the compass functioning, and we're going to rebuild this together today, so don't you worry, we'll go through every single step. So as you know, in all of our favorite Battle Royale games, you'll be roaming around, you'll be looking for enemies or loot, or you want to call something out to your fellow players, so you need a compass to know where you're going. Now, this compass is going to do a few things for us. One, we're going to have this nice little faded background to it, as you can see there. Two, of course, as we rotate, it will show us the direction in which we are facing, and we have the numbers in between. And three, we have this little number, well, a large number for me, so you can see it, but a number underneath, which will show us in increments of 5 degrees where we're facing, except for when we reach a true direction. So either east, here, southeast, south, etc. It will change to be the text, the actual letter or letters of that direction. So I'm going to show you how we do all of that. It's actually really simple. Let's go ahead and jump into it together. And what I'm going to do here is we're going to rebuild this together, but I'm going to show you what I have, and then I'm going to destroy it, and then we will rebuild it together, okay? So as you can see here, I've got this object under my canvas called compass, and everything is underneath of that. So what I'm going to do is just delete that object for now, and there you go. It goes away. No more compass. So obviously, yes, I have a canvas here. So from our last tutorial, I don't know if we had a canvas. I had one because I was using a mini-map prefab, and when you bring it in, it comes with one. If you don't have a canvas, that's okay. Just right-click anywhere in here and say UI Canvas right there, and it will pop up for you, okay? So we're going to have 3 objects underneath our canvas, but first, let's begin with a container object. So I'm going to say right-click on this object, and I'm going to say, let's create an empty under the canvas, and we'll call this compass, all capital letters, and that's just going to be our container object for everything. I'm going to give him a bit of an offset here, so 357 by a negative 229. I'm trying to match my settings from my other project to see if I can get everything to line up for you guys. We'll try that out and see if that works for us. If not, no worries. We're just going to take them and put them wherever we need. All right, so under the compass, let's create some children. So I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say UI, and we want text, and let's call this text compass degree text, okay? And let's change his settings while we're here. So his X position is going to be negative 357. Y is going to be 338. There we go. We start to see him appear on the screen there. Very good. It's going to be 200 by 200. And then our size and scale, all that is good. I'm going to give the actual text to start with 360, just because that's the largest number that we'll see, so we know that we have room for it on the screen. Now for the font, let's choose a font together, and I like this one here, the Roboto Condensed Bold. It comes with Unity, and it looks good to me, nice and readable. Let's change our size to 48, just so it's real big on the screen. This is a salt to taste kind of thing. You can change it to whatever you like. I'm just doing it for example purposes today. For our alignment, I'm going to choose the center and the top, so it's nice and centered to the screen here. And for the horizontal and vertical overflow, I'm going to put these both on overflow. And then for the color, of course, let's choose white. There we go. So that guy's all set. Now, he doesn't do anything yet. He's just text on the screen. But we're going to put some intelligence behind it. We're going to put some coding behind it, and you'll see it'll work out nicely. So back to our compass. Let's right-click, and we're going to create 2 more objects. UI, we want to choose a raw image. And while we're here, I'm just going to hit Control-D, and that will duplicate that image. So let's go to the first one, and let's call this compass background. So compass space background. Enter. There we go. And he's got a couple of settings. Let me get my handy dandy notes out here, and we'll make sure that we do this correctly together. So I'm going to say negative 357, 486. There we go. And his width is going to be 1152. I know, quite wide, by 77. There we go. And then scale, we're going to scale him a little bit on the X, 0.875. If I can type properly. There we go. And for his coloring, he's going to have a texture, but for his coloring, we're just going to change the alpha here down to 25, okay? So he's nice and, transparent there. And we're going to put a texture in there. I'll show you the texture in just a little bit, but he's going to be in there. Okay, our other raw image, this is going to be the actual compass itself. So compass. Now, this guy is also going to have the same kind of setups here. So let's go minus 357. Oops, 357. And then we're going to have 486. He's going to go right on top of it. And again, he's going to be 1152 by 77. There we go. And he's going to be completely controlled by a texture, so I think we're okay there. And we'll bring that texture in just a moment, and we don't want his color to be messed up at all. Okay, so that should be good. We'll put the notes aside. Thank you, notes. Now, we have to write a little bit of some code for ourselves to put onto this compass. We also need some textures. So let me fire up Photoshop, and I'm going to show you the textures that we have here, okay? So here's Photoshop open, and we've got two different textures we're creating here. This one here is going to be your mask. So this is the mask image. This is going to be behind the compass. And it's just that nice little background there, and it kind of fades off at the edges. As of the recording of this video, it is not possible that I know of inside of Unity to do a gradient type mask like this without buying some kind of a paid asset. I'm trying to figure it out to see if I can provide that for you guys. But there's lots of paid assets to do that if you want to do an actual dynamic fade. Ours will be cutting off at a certain line, and that's okay. But this background we do have faded because it's just Photoshop. Now the other image, this is the actual image you want, and this is the compass image. And so this is very specifically lots of math to figure out the spacing for all these things, lots of time spent figuring out what's the right size for the different font and all that. So I've done all that hard work for you, but just know that it's a ton of math to make sure this all lines up. But the key is that you have to have north in the center, and then you have to have it wrap around the edges. So this is a direct split in half of the south denomination here, and it goes over here, and it will continue. And that's the key point, because we're just going to be stretching this texture or scaling it around left and right, and as it passes by, it will loop, so it needs to loop appropriately. So you see here, I've got this gray background here, but if I uncheck that, this is what it actually looks like. It's actually got a transparent background because we don't want to see anything behind it. So this here is just for demonstration purposes for you guys, so you can see all of the things here. But I've got both of those. They're in the download package for you. Go to the website, download them. You'll be all set. We're going to import them together. Okay, so in our tutorial folder here, I've imported those. We go to textures. There are these two images here, okay? Now the important thing to note is when you bring in a texture, so say if I go, let's create a brand new folder here together. In a folder, examples, right? If I'm going to bring in that texture, so I'm going to say import, new asset, and I can already pick it from where I've got it already, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if I go in here and say textures, I'm going to pick one in here and say import. He comes in like this. You notice that it looks weird. It looks solid white except for the end there. And that's because we need to change some settings here. The type of texture, we don't want it to be default. We want to say, you are specifically for use as a sprite, 2D, and UI. So if we click that, and then we click apply, now we can see through it. We can see the numbers and everything here, and that looks great. So we need to do that for both of our textures. And I'm just going to jump over here and show you that in the textures folder, I've done that for both the compass and the compass background. And see, they're set to sprite, 2D, and UI, and that way we have this gradated background. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump over and say our compass background. Since we know that we have our texture and we got it all set up, let's just put that in there. Okay, there he is. Now for our actual compass itself, let's go to that guy and drag in our compass texture. There he is. Very cool. Okay, let's take a look. So if we hit play, we can drop in, we can see that there it is, but obviously it's static because there's no intelligence behind it yet, right? And that's what we're going to do together next is the code to make this work. But our texture's imported properly, they're aligned properly, they look pretty good, and it's a good readable size. Again, you can change this if you want it smaller, more tactical. I just wanted it big and bold for demonstration purposes to you guys. All right, so now that we have the visuals complete, let's go ahead and jump into the scripting to make this function. Let's test it real fast. If I hit play, you take a look and you see that our images are on the screen, but nothing is locomoting yet. We need it all to move, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I have the code over here, and I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to show you how it works, and we'll create it together, okay? So in our tutorial folder, I'm going to right-click and say Create C# script, and let's call this Compass Tut. For me, it's Compass Tutorial. Okay, and we'll open that up. There we go. So here it is. Excellent. So we need to do a couple of things right off the bat. First of all, I like to change my line endings here, so I'm going to bring those back to the front. So just like that. And all that means is I'm lining them up here and here, and I like to see all the code in the middle. You don't have to do this. I like to do it. And we do need to add one thing up here. So I'm going to say using Unity Engine, there it is, .ui, because we're going to be accessing some UI type stuff. Okay, so this whole script is not too complicated. It's only about 60 lines of code, very easy. So we need 3 public things. So public just means that we can access it inside the inspector, and it makes hooking things up a whole lot easier. So we need access to a raw image, which is going to be our compass image. Okay, we need access to a transform, which is going to be FORM, there we go, our player themselves. And we need access to the ability to spell properly. We need access to a text, which is going to be our compass direction text. Okay, there we go. That's all for now. We don't need anything in the start. We're going to go right into the update method. I'm going to be doing a couple of things. First up, we need to get a handle to the image is UV rect. And a UV rect, like this, UV RECT, UV rect is the rectangular UVs to this image. And we're going to be dealing with just mostly the left and right, but you'll see how this works out. So compass image, so I'm going to get our variable there. Compass image dot UV rect, okay? And we're going to access that and say it's going to be equal to a new rectangle based upon the player dot local Euler, there it is, local Euler angles dot y, but then we still need to do a little bit of math. So we're going to divide it by 360, and I'm going to say comma 0, comma 1, comma 1. So this is our float x, y, height, and width. So I'm going to say we're just going to deal with the x direction, and the y direction we're not going to deal with, and then the height and width are going to be 1 for 1 based upon the image. There we go. Okay, so now that we have that, what we need to do next is get a copy of our forward vector for our player. So I'm going to say vector 3 forward equals player dot transform dot forward. This just means what direction is a player facing forwards. Usually that's positive x, but not always. Okay, then we're going to zero that out. So I'm going to say forward dot y equals 0. Okay, so we're going to make sure that they're facing due north, true north right away. All right, so now we need to clamp our values because our value is going to be floats. You're going to get like something like this, just some crazy number like that where it's got a lot of decimals. We need to be dealing with solid numbers here. So let's make a temporary float. I'm going to call it heading angle. And I'm going to set this to, follow me here, quaternion, there we go, dot look rotation, okay. I'm going to look in the forward direction, dot Euler angles, if I can spell properly, U-E-L-E-R, yeah, Euler angles, dot y, okay. So I'm going to just say our angle is going to be starting there looking at that direction, okay. Then I'm going to say heading angle is going to be equal to 5 times, and then in parentheses here, mathf dot round to int. So we're going to create an integer out of this, out of our heading angle, divided by 5.of for float, and then finish it off. So this means that we're going to take that value, and by multiplying 5 times the rounding up to an int of the value divided by 5, we'll only get our 5 increment numbers. Now this is just some math stuff, so just trust me, it works. But what this means is given a value of 0 to 360, only when the value is divisible by 5 will we round it to an integer. And we're going to use that, okay? So, very good. Next up, we need to do a little bit of conversion. So I'm going to make a temporary integer here. Display angle. So this is the angle that we're going to display on the screen. And I'm going to say display angle is equal to mathf.round to int. This is how we convert to an integer, and say heading angle. Now before we were doing the same thing here, but you'll notice that here we were doing mathf.round to int, but we're still doing division and by a float value. So this will give us a float value that is technically 5.0. So something like that. So if I say 5.0, that's still a float. When I convert it down here to an integer, it's going to become 5. And that's a different type of number, and that's important because of the thing we're about to do next, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a switch statement. And a switch statement is just like a big fancy if. So I'm going to say switch. So I want you to switch your behavior based upon some values I'm about to give you. So we're going to put display angle in here and say based upon what display angle is, do one of the following things. Essentially, that's all it's going to do. Now we're going to give it case statements. So if you tell somebody, hey, I want you to go to the store and I want you to get something for me, but in case they have this or in case they don't have this, do this. So take that language, but instead of in case, it's just case this, case that. All right, so we're going to have several of these. Let me see how many exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these in total. So let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to leave a few spaces. Copy that. There we go. And do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now that seems like a lot, but we're going to go through these together and it will make total sense and it's really easy. So in case it's 0, we want to do something. What do we want to do? Well, we want the compass direction text dot text. So it's text property, the actual text displayed on the screen by this object, to equal north. Okay? So if the value is 0, if we're looking at 0 degrees, that's due north, right? Well, the problem is, so is 360 degrees. So we need that to also show due north. So let's go ahead and put that in there. There we go. Now these others are quite easy, and I'm just going to follow my little chart over here, but these are for all the other directions that we could potentially face. So this is going to be 45. This is going to be 90, so I can reuse that 0, so say 90. There we go. 130. There we go. 180. Down here, this is going to be 225. Kind of breaks down a little bit with my zeros there. That's okay. But we're back with 270. And then this last one is not the word case, but it's going to be default. So this is going to say, if nothing else works, what should I do? All right. And here we're going to say compass direction text dot text is equal to heading angle dot toString. And what this means is if it's any other value, even though we've already done the math up here, that's fine. But if it's any other value, just take whatever that value is, turn it into a string. So turning the number 5 into the actual text that looks like a number 5. That means that we'll actually get the correct values displayed. The rest of these we're just reaching in because it's a letter that we're putting up there, or a series of letters. We can access it a different way. Let's go ahead and grab this, and I'm just going to quickly put all these in here. Let's see, I need to do a copy and a paste and a paste and a paste. So each of these just has their own value. So the first two are north, then it's going to be northeast, then it's going to be straight east. Pretty simple here, southeast. And then this is going to be straight south. And then this is going to be southwest. And then straight west. There we go. So that's everything. So let's go ahead and build it and make sure that it worked. And this is one that I started earlier, so we're just going to get rid of that, and it should be just fine. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's looking for a problem. What did I do here? Case 0. Cannot control fall through case 0 to other. Switch statement. Switch display angle. What did I miss? What did I miss? Oh, did we not close the... Did I not close it? Okay, let's do some troubleshooting. This is update. This is all done within update. That's all done within update. Okay, I did something wrong. Oh, okay, very good. I see what I did. Perfect. Good example to learn. So here, as you can see, we have this extra space because I need to tell it, hey, when you're done doing this, you need to go back to doing other things, right? Okay, so for each of these case statements, what you need is underneath the thing you wanted to do, we're going to say break. This means that I want you to break out of this logic of you figuring out what you're doing and just go back to the rest of the code and go back to doing what you're doing. Otherwise, it would spend eternity just sitting here trying to figure out how to do what you asked it to do, even if it's not possible. Okay, so let's build that now, and that should be good. There we go. We did it, guys. We did it. Awesome. So what that means now is it will evaluate this and say, 0, I did this. Break means go back. Break out of this and go back to the next thing. Okay, cool. So with that finished, let's close that up. Now in our scene here, we have our compass object, and I'm going to put compass toot right onto that object. So let's drag it over there. There we go. Kind of wait for it to finish. And now we just have to plug everything in. So let's start with the player. We'll take the FPS controller and plug that right in. Take our compass degree, our compass direction text here, that's going to be this guy. Put that right there. And then the actual image of the compass itself is this guy named Compass. So we put him in there. Let's go ahead and hit a quick save and hit play. And now, as I look around, oh, sorry, I clicked. Circle is shrinking. Now, as I look around, anytime I hit an exact north, east, etc., we're going to get the value. So there you go. And you'll notice that our compass is scrolling quite nicely. And exactly when it meets a certain point on one edge, it's going right over to that other edge. So for example, I happen to know that facing right in between these mountains here is north. So if I rotate 360 degrees, I'm facing right in between those mountains again, and I'm facing north. That's perfect. So now all I need to do is make sure that my world is angled. It looks like maybe 75 degrees. If you can see my mini map, this should be facing north right here, right? And then south would be facing this direction. But you can see that's a little off. South is actually this direction. So I need to rotate that and work that out. But that's not a big deal. That's just rotating the world. But now we have a working compass. We have the ability to roam around and do call-outs and say, oh, enemy on the hill at 40. And that way you can do just like you do in PUBG and Fortnite. You can say, oh, enemy 335. And they know that's just left of north, the top of a hill. There we go, guys. I hope you've enjoyed very much. If you have any questions, if you have trouble with the coding, don't worry. Follow along as best you can. And if you need to, you can just go to the website and download the script. It'll be there for you. And then you can look at it yourself and kind of pick it apart. My code is actually very well commented. If I bring that up, I can show you the official code is right here. Where is Compass at? Compass. So here's my official code. So it's the exact same thing. I just have, do this and explaining here. We're getting this value. So I put in some notes for you guys just to explain what we're doing so it's a little bit easier to follow. But you can download the script or you can follow along and learn a bit of coding. And there you go. You made yourself a nice compass. So next time we'll be working on things like the mini map, the airdrops, the plane drop. We're going to do the crates, everything. I've got a whole series of little things figured out. We're going to go through them one at a time. Lots more to come on this. Thank you so much for your kind attention and sticking with me, guys. And until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better. And I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.